Alright, hello. I'm going to do a video today on the Digital Pro controller for the Traeger. It's a new controller that came out that's got the probes in it, so you can at the same time measure the temperature of your meat as well as the grill. So it's kind of all combined in one. Unit I have here is the Pro 22 model Traeger grill. Again, it's a Costco special. It's got the warming tray in the bottom and such. So I'm going to unbox the unit and then we'll go forward and put it in. Just a quick revision to my intro. Just making sure everybody knows what tools are required when installing the Digital Pro controller. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. You can use this one pretty easily on the face, but you know, it might prove valuable on the bottom to have a power one. It's just easier access and reaching from underneath rather than doing it by hand. There's 4 screws on the bottom, and then a small electrical type screwdriver that was used to change out the temperature probes. I don't know, it won't focus on this, but so just a very small screwdriver, flat blade one, wire cutters to cut pan duits, and you're going to need about 6 to 8 pan duit, zip ties, cable ties, whatever you want to call them, to tighten up the wires after the assembly. So that's what you need to get this job done. It's not just a quick and simple pull off the unit, unplug it, plug the new one in, and put it back in. You have to use the pan duits and all. So, all right, hope this helps. All right, so after taking the unit out of the box, what you get is you get 2 different probes. You have one with the white lead and a black lead. This way you can also tell which one's plugged into which temperature measuring units. You can follow the black lead all the way up to the probe, and this one doesn't have any dash lines on it. Then on the probe, the measuring unit itself, you can see you've got probe 1 and 2, and then the selector switch. You can bounce through the different probes, and I'm not sure exactly how it's going to read on the temperature display, but we'll find that out soon enough. Alright, and then as you can see, kind of pretty intricately involved unit. Pretty impressive. A lot to it just for dropping pellets into an auger. So one thing I do like about this is if you look at the two and compare them together, it's much more of a robust button, or knob I should say, on the newer unit. But you know, match up, same size, just looks a little bit more sturdy, durable, and also I think I like the blue color better of the digital display. The directions say that you need to unplug the unit first from the underside. However, that's completely closed off, so I'm just going to take the unit out from the face side, and we'll see if it's easily accessible from there. It should be. The leads are long enough. So another thing, looks like you only need 2 tools: small screwdriver, flat blade, Phillips, taken out of the front. The reason for the small one is because the only thing you have to do as far as screws is these 2 things here for the temperature probe. So you have to take that's for the grill temperature. You have to disconnect those wires from the prior unit and then connect them onto the new unit. Alright, I got this unit unscrewed. It does mention to be cautious about trying to get the the panel out past the door opening here, because the door opening is smaller than each side of the unit. So tinker around with this a little bit. Still don't want to damage this one, so I'm going to use both hands to do this. Alright, well, this is a little bit of a bummer. Let's see, come on, focus here. Alright, so in tinkering around with this, it's very apparent that the wires back in there are zip tied together, and it's really going to be difficult without accessing it from the bottom. So I'm going to take off the bottom cover. And as well, these 2 temperature probe wires here would be difficult to get past. You'd probably be bending them, even if you could get the wire out. So, but either way, the farthest I can pull it is, you know, barely here. That wire's short and tight right inside there, right? So just keep that in mind. If you do replace this, start on the bottom and unplug it. Alright, so I've got the bottom cover free, but based upon the power cord coming in from the bottom, it's got a little stopper in there, so you're gonna have to loosen that up as well. But it is kind of a nice side slash bottom panel. It frees everything up so you can get to probably just a little blower fan and whatnot for simple changes. But as you can see, the mess of wires down here, everything is all pretty well zip tied and tight together, so I'm going to get this whole bottom cover freed up to gain easier access. Alright, so the door easily drops down. You just have to pop this little plastic one-piece side out of here so the wire will slip through easily. Now I'm going to go ahead and free up all the wires and get the other unit out. Alright, it looks like there's probably like 7 or 8 zip ties tying this all up in there. It was held up in there very nicely, so really make sure that you keep that back together because you don't want it interrupting either the blower fan just adjacent to it. It's tied up pretty close to that, and then this looks like it must be some sort of a cooling fan. So alright, I'm going to disconnect everything and pull it out of here. Okay, once that's completed, it easily comes out the front access hole, and as you can see, you've got the temperature probe wires here. I'll be swapping those over to the new unit. Alright, got the wires swapped over. One thing I just wanted to point out was you can see the intricacy difference between the two units clearly. So as the old unit, much less circuitry to it, you know, at least on the one side anyway, where the new unit you can see it's much more involved across both sides. So a little interesting. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's, you know, too much more outside of measuring the temperature of the cooker itself, but you know, maybe there's, I guess, a lot more needed for the temperature probes, which are built into these two inlets here, plug-ins from the other side. So I just thought I'd share that before we put it together. Alright, now I'm going to insert the unit and get it plugged in. Alright, the new unit's plugged in, and pretty neat and orderly here. Good enough to keep it in place and not getting away with any the fans or anything, so that'll hold tight. And the cord going to it's got a little bit of play in it. And then these are the temperature thermostat control for the grill itself. Alright, I'm going to put the bottom cover back up and in place, which is simply just pulling the power cord wire back through, and then there's 4 screws on the bottom side. Alright, so the unit's complete, installed. And the only other thing remaining is I've got the bottom panel on, but in order to get this wire deal back in here to hold the power cable in, it's pretty apparent that this is gets installed from the outside. So you got to crimp these, you know, kind of put this little assembly together and just shove it in the hole, and it'll keep the wire in there. You can't do it from the inside, you got to do it from the outside. But that concludes this. The next thing I'll do real quickly is plug it in and turn it on, make sure everything works. Okay, here's the ultimate test. Digital Pro controller installed, powered off, it's plugged in. Hopefully nothing starts smoking, well, besides the pellets, when we kick it on here. Here the fan's running. And I'll just go through the full cycle and let this thing heat up, maybe run it at high temp for a little bit, just to make sure it's working properly. But, that's a wrap. Thought I'd add one additional thing onto this video before I actually complete it all. That I've had this thing going for quite a while now, and I've got the temperature set to 350. It has been running for a half hour at least, and it is holding. I am very impressed. It's holding steady at 160 or sorry, 350 here. One thing I want to point out is I've got both probes in here, and well, I wanted to show kind of how that works. So when you press the probe selector button, it's going to blink either P1 or P2, and then it will display the temperature of that individual probe. So let's start with probe 1 I've got going into the grill to see what the actual temperature of the ambient air is in there, and then the other one I have in a glass of ice water. Okay, so let's go probe 1, and we'll flash the temperature that it's 409. So a bit concerning. Now granted, when you read 350 here, the ambient temperature 409 inside there, I'm not sure how well these probes measure ambient air temperature. You know, so I'd obviously hope that this is correct. I wouldn't want it 50 degrees off, so I've got to look more into that. All right, and then the second probe, we can go and push it twice. It'll go to P2, and you'll see that the water is showing pretty good down. You know, initially it was at 31 degrees when I first put it in there, but it's gotten a little, it's melted a little bit and clearly warmed up. So it was at 31 once I had the full glass of ice cold water, full of ice and just a little bit of water. So mixing it up a little bit, went down to 34. So it was measuring pretty accurately. So be honest with you, I really hope that the air temperature is not 413 inside of the grill. I would have to insert some other kind of a measuring device to ensure the accuracy of the digital temperature probe in relation to that. So, all right, hope you've enjoyed this and hope it's been beneficial for you. Take care. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe.